Suspense. This is the Man in Black. Here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Our star tonight is Bela Lugosi, playing the part of Professor Antonio Basile, psychologist. The story is by J. Donald Wilson, who calls it The Doctor Prescribed Death. If you have been with us on these Tuesday nights, you will know that suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. This series of tales is calculated to intrigue you, stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so it is with the Doctor Prescribed Death and Bela Lugosi's performance. We again hope to keep you in suspense. Professor Antonio Basile has a theory, but let him tell you about it.
As a psychologist, I have worked out a theory I know to be sound. I contend that a person who has decided to kill himself can very easily be turned from this desire to the desire of taking the life of another. I can prove my theory, and if necessary, that is exactly what I will do.
Yes, Professor Antonio Basile has a theory, but only a theory. And he's worried about what his publisher will say, so he visits the editor, whose name is Hellman. Hellman finishes the manuscript and tosses it on the desk. Professor Basile leans forward eagerly and...
Well, Hellman, what do you think?
Professor Basile, it's purely conjecture, simply a theory, and I wouldn't advise publishing it.
I worked on that theory for a long time. I'm positive of it. I know it'll work.
Suppose it will. What good is it? What good have you accomplished if you can prove it'll work?
Are you laughing at me, Hellman?
It's so silly. An ordinary human being has suffered reverses. Is sick of it all. He wants to leave it all behind. And you say he can be changed to want to kill someone else.
I do. Self-destruction and the destruction of other life are closely related in the mind. The dividing line is very thin.
It's ridiculous.
And you won't publish it?
Granger would fire me.
Why?
He told me that, in his opinion, you should be in the asylum.
Mr. Granger said that. Does he think I'm insane?
How do I know?
Hellman, Mr. Granger didn't say that. It's you who thinks I'm crazy. You've never liked me. For some reason, you are trying to tear me down. Well, we'll see, Mr. Hellman. We'll see.
Now, wait a minute.
I'll show you whether my works are illogical. I'll show you whether I'm insane.
Oh, calm down.
I'm going to make you eat those words. I know you don't like me, but I'm going to prove that my theory is sound. Good night.
Wait a minute. Basile, wait.
You wait, Hellman. You wait.
Yes, wait, Hellman. Wait. Professor Basile, seething with resentment, rushes from the office and strides angrily down the street.
Insane, huh? I'll prove my theory. I'll find a subject. I'll find someone who wants to take his own life.
And so Basile goes home, late for dinner. He finds a note from his wife, Myra, saying she's decided to attend the opera and will be home around 11:30. Then Professor Basile gets an inspiration. He goes to the bridge over the deep canyon, the bridge called Suicide. And strangely enough, he hasn't long to wait. As he stands against the railing in the fog, a figure appears a few feet beyond, stops, prepares to leap.
Don't do it. Wait a minute. Listen.
Huh?
That's very silly.
Let go of me.
Oh, no. I couldn't do that. I need you.
I don't need you.
Don't you know this is against the law?
You're not an officer. You can't stop me.
It's 500 feet to those tracks below. Hard steel rails. And don't believe what they all tell you about not being conscious of what happened. You'd know. People don't die instantly.
Let loose.
They lie in agony for minutes and sometimes for an hour. It's a horrible death, I know.
How do you know?
I'm a doctor.
Doctor,
Yes, I can tell you much simpler ways, much less painful ways and quicker. You're a nice young girl, an intelligent girl. You wouldn't want it to happen this way. Maybe after I talk to you a while, you wouldn't want to do this at all.
no.
No. But come on. Let's talk it over. Maybe a few minutes' talk will change the entire picture for you.
What could you do to help me?
If you'll come, I'll tell you. There's a motive back of your wanting to do this, and I'd like to know what it is.
Nothing doing.
Haven't you any relatives? Any loved ones you'd like to do something for?
Yes?
Then if you'll talk with me for a while, maybe I can find my way clear to help those people.
You sound crazy to me.
Oh, no.
All right, Where?
My apartment.
Let's go.
Well, here we are. Come in, please.
Well, what do you want to know?
Sit down first. Are you hungry?
No, I'm not that broke. It isn't poverty.
I knew that. I could tell by your clothes. Now first, why did you come here?
Why? Why, because you talked me into it.
I see. You're not afraid of me?
Afraid. In my frame of mind. What can I lose?
Suppose I told you that I really brought you here to kill you.
Kill me.
You know, you're a very pretty girl, don't you?
Yeah? That doesn't always mean so much.
To the right man, it might.
That's what I thought. But I found out it didn't mean a thing.
Ah, then it was because of a man. I knew it.
Really? How did you guess?
I'm a student of psychology. I'm Professor Antonio Basil.
I see. And you want to know what makes me tick. You want to know the reason behind my action tonight.
That's right. I would like to know what happened to make you want to kill yourself. Suicide is a mental aberration.
Yeah?
I'd like to know what preceded the decision to destroy yourself and what you thought about until the moment I stopped you on the bridge.
What good will that do me?
You said you weren't broke, but you also said you had some loved ones you'd like to do something for.
I meant I wasn't broke to the point of being hungry. I have a few dollars. But you suggested help for someone in larger terms.
Yes, I did. Who is the loved one?
My mother?
You are her only means of support?
Yes.
And you intend to kill yourself?
Yes.
That's being selfish, isn't it?
Selfish?
Yes. You are concentrating solely on self.
You think so?
What else? The first law of human nature is self-preservation, right?
I suppose so.
The second law is the preservation of family.
Yeah?
So you decide to deny the first law and destroy yourself. And as a consequence, deny the second and leave your mother alone and in need. You indicate a form of insanity.
What would be normal?
To destroy the other person, the one who has done you wrong. Have you hurt him?
No.
Then the one who has done wrong should be the one to suffer. You have no legal recourse?
Legal recourse? No, I haven't, I'm sorry to say.
And you would kill yourself to let your poor mother suffer because of the wrong of another. Why shouldn't he be the one to suffer?
I suppose you're right. Why shouldn't he?
What happened after all? Why not tell me about it? Were you married?
No. He never seemed to find time to get around to marriage.
What's your name?
Gladys. Gladys Tanner.
How long had you known him?
Almost 4 years.
And you always thought he meant to marry you?
Yes. Until 3 weeks ago.
Yes?
On July 1st, he had to leave town for a week on business. Said he was going to Kansas City. When he came back, he seemed to be too busy to see me. Then a week ago, I found a snapshot along with several others in his desk in his home.
May I see it?
Certainly. It's a picture of him and another woman. But the picture was not taken in Kansas City.
It wasn't.
No, it was taken on the beach at Atlantic City. And it's dated by the finisher, July 3rd. Since he returned, he's refused to see me. Yesterday, he finally said he didn't care to see me anymore. That I'd better forget him.
But it isn't so easy as that, is it?
No. I figured I'd done something. And blame myself.
Do you know this blonde woman in this snapshot?
No.
Then it must be a woman he has met recently. You've known him for 4 years. I don't think you are to blame. He's the one in the wrong, and he should be made to suffer.
How?
You were going to kill yourself. Why should you? Kill him instead. He double-crossed you. He deserves it. Now, let me go a little deeper into the situation. Whenever a person has reached the conclusion to take his life... You are sure you have made up your mind, Miss Tanner?
Positive.
Now, if you're careful, you won't be caught.
No.
But whether you are or not, I'm giving you this check for $1,000 made out to cash to be sent to your mother only after the man is dead. Write his name on this pad.
There you are.
I will know what has happened by the newspapers. And I will be told payment until I learn that you have gone through with it.
It'll happen tonight.
Very well. You are sure? You are determined?
Absolutely. Nothing could stop me.
Very good.
Just what would happen if I did get caught?
You won't get caught if you follow my instructions. I know. Now, here is a small revolver. It'll fit easily in your purse. That's all you need. Be sure to wipe your fingerprints off and leave the gun near the body.
Yeah. Well, goodbye, Dr. Basile.
Goodbye, Gladys, and good luck.
Professor Basile watches Gladys as she crosses the street to the dimly lighted bus stop. Then he rushes to his car and drives away. A few minutes later, he comes to a stop at Hellman's house. Hellman, the editor who ridiculed his theory.
Just a minute. Oh. Hello, Basile.
Good evening, Hellman. Thought I'd drop out to have a little chat with you.
Well, why this time of night? It's kind of late, isn't it?
11. Didn't think that was late for you.
No? Come in.
Thanks.
Sit down. What's on your mind?
I want to talk to you about my theory you ridicule so definitely. My theory about suicide.
Oh. Well, I just don't believe it, that's all.
And I said I'd prove it, didn't I?
Yes, but what are you getting at?
It's going to be proved. My theory is going to be proved tonight.
Well, that's fine. Go right ahead and prove it.
I don't like you, Hellman. I never liked you. And I know you don't like me.
I can't help that, Basile. What are you staring at?
Is there someone here with you?
Certainly not. Why?
That's a woman's purse on the Davenport.
Oh, my secretary dropped by earlier this evening with the manuscript. She must have forgotten it.
She's not here now?
Of course not.
Then I'll continue. I found a subject. A girl who was ready to commit suicide because a man jilted her. In a few hours, I was successful in changing her thoughts from suicide to homicide, and she is going to kill the man tonight. What do you think of that?
There may be a dozen murders tonight.
Ah, but you'll know which one I mean. You'll know about this murder.
What do you mean?
Because I'm going to tell you who the victim is going to be.
You know who the intended victim is? Why don't you stop it?
But then I wouldn't have proved my theory.
If you put this girl up to it, you're as guilty as she is. You're insane, Basile, hopelessly insane.
You think so, Herman?
The whole idea is mad, too utterly ridiculous for words. No sane man would ever think of such a useless, senseless idea. And for heaven's sake, stop laughing.
I'm thinking about the victim when he learns.
Who is the victim?
Martin Hellman.
Me?
Yes, you.
I don't believe you.
You will this time.
Who is this girl? I know no girl who'd want to kill me.
This one does. Now.
Oh, nonsense. However, I wouldn't put it past you to hire someone to do something like this.
Oh, no. This girl is no fake. This girl is serious. Deadly serious.
You probably hypnotized some poor woman, figuring she'd never remember what happened.
Oh, Hellman, you underestimate me.
Maybe I do underestimate your evil mind. But believe
Put
me...
up your hands, Hellman. Get away from the desk. I'll just take care of that gun, Hellman. That's better.
Well, since when did you start carrying a gun, Basile?
A gun? Don't be silly. This isn't a gun in my pocket. It's just my pipe. See? Well, what do you hear, Herman?
Nothing.
Oh, yes, you do. I heard it, too. A sound on the porch. I leave now. The back way. I put your gun in the kitchen. And I'll be very careful to remove all my fingerprints.
You insane fool.
Oh, fancy you. You, Herman, you are going to help prove my theory. Good night, Hellman.
Crazy devil. I'll have him locked up before he gets across town.
Good evening, Mr. Hellman.
Huh? How did you get in here?
Through the patio door.
What do you want?
I wanted to talk to you.
Very strangely.
You're just imagining things.
And what are you doing here?
I wanted to tell you something.
Yeah? What?
When you first indicated to me that you were through with me, I was terribly hurt. I thought all along that we were to be married. I couldn't understand. I tried and tried to think of something I'd done to cause our breakup. Then I happened to find this snapshot in your desk.
Snapshot?
Take a look at it. Kansas City. No, Atlantic City, New Jersey. You and a blonde. And the date is stamped on the back. A business trip. Ha!
Well, what about it?
I just wanted you to know that you weren't so slick. I wanted you to know that I knew about the blonde. That I knew you'd lied.
Now that you've told me, what good does it do you?
A lot of good.
First, I thought you came here for money.
How could you think such a thing?
Well, I think you'd better go now.
I'm going. Goodbye, Morton. And good luck in your new venture.
What venture?
This one.
Gladys! Gladys!
And wish me luck in mine.
Gladys stands staring a moment at the body of Hellman, then wipes off the gun, drops it to the floor, takes the professor's check from her purse, steps to Hellman's desk and writes a note. Then she puts the note in an envelope with the check, addresses it, stamps it, turns out the lights, and steps out into the dark street. At the corner, she drops the envelope in the mailbox and disappears. Professor Basile heard the shots. His theory worked. Hellman will torment him no more. The perfect crime. So he can go home to his wife now and go to sleep.
Myra. Myra.
Huh? What? Oh, Antonio.
What are you doing asleep on the Davenport? You know what time it is.
It must be after midnight. I've been waiting for you.
How was opera?
Oh, fair. Nothing to brag about.
Who sang the lead?
Bill Chiardi. He wasn't very good.
Berghetti.
He's a poor Othello.
Othello? I thought they were doing Ida tonight.
No, they switched because someone was ill. Oh, I just as soon have stayed home.
Have a nightcap, Myra.
No, thanks. I'm tired. I think I'll go to bed.
I'll be along presently. Good night.
Then the night passes and the morning comes. The professor rises cheerfully and prepares for breakfast. Then...
I get it, Myra. Yes?
Are you Professor Basile?
Yes,
May we come in? We'd like to talk with you.
of course. What is it you want?
Is your wife in?
Yes.
We'd like to see her, too.
What?
Oh, I'm Lieutenant Davis, Sergeant Frank. Detective headquarters.
Well, what do you want?
Will you call your wife?
Why, certainly. Myra! But what's this all about?
What is it, Antonio?
These men are from detective headquarters. They want to talk to us.
Really? What about?
May I ask where you were last night, Mrs. Basile?
Certainly. I went to the opera.
And what time did you get home?
Oh, I imagine it was around 11 or shortly after.
Mm-hmm. Were you at home last evening, Professor?
Well, I was at the club and got home about 12:30.
By the way, do you know a Morton Hellman?
Certainly.
What about him?
He's been murdered.
Murdered?
Good Lord. When?
Around midnight last night. I found him this morning.
How terrible. Why, I've known him for years. He was editor-in-chief of the company publishing my writings. I'm a psychologist, you know.
Yes, we know.
But what do you want to know from us? We weren't connected socially with Hellman, just in business.
Did you know him, Mrs. Basile?
Yes, I knew him very slightly.
Do either of you know of anyone who'd have reason to kill him?
Certainly not. Everyone thought highly of him.
Did you ever hear of a girl named Gladys Tanner?
Lady Stanner? No.
Did you know of a Gladys Tanner, Mrs. Basile?
No.
Is this your purse, Mrs. Basile?
Why, of course it is. That's the one I gave you last Christmas, Myra.
Oh, yes. I must have lost it downtown.
Where did you find it, Lieutenant?
At Hellman's home.
Hellman's home. Well, how in the world?
Good heavens, but
We
how...
found it on the sofa.
Well, I can't imagine how it could get there.
And this is the revolver that killed Hellman, found on the floor beside him.
What?
No fingerprints on it, however.
May I see it? Why, Myra, this is your gun. I bought this for you 2 years ago when I went on the lecture tour.
Yes, I think it's mine, but it just doesn't make sense.
Did you have the gun in your purse when you lost it last night?
Well, perhaps I did. I'm so confused now I can't remember.
Think, Myra. Think, it is terrible.
Oh, I know. Oh, dear, I feel ill.
Did you ever fire this gun?
Yes, once last year up in the mountains. I wanted to see how it worked.
Ever reload it?
No, I've never reloaded it. I just didn't think about it. Maybe I did put it in my purse. Why, I don't know. And whoever found the purse may have used the gun to... Oh, I just can't seem to think.
This gun misfired on the first 2 shots. The other 3 killed Hellman.
This is the most amazing piece of coincidence I ever heard of. Why would my wife want to do such a thing? Why should she get to Hellman? She hardly knew him.
Are you sure about that, Professor?
Of course.
Well, sorry to say that I don't believe her.
What? This is ridiculous.
This is going to be a shock to you, Professor, but here's a snapshot we found on Hellman's desk. Taken in Atlantic City last July.
Good heavens. Why? This is you, Myra. You and Hellman. You were at your mother's in Florida in July. Myra, look at me. What does this mean?
I can't.
And I can't believe such a thing.
May I have the purse, the gun, and the photo? Thank you. I'm sorry, but I'll have to take her down to headquarters.
But I didn't kill him. I didn't. I wouldn't. I loved him.
Myra. You better pull yourself together. You'll have to go back.
You'll want photos and fingerprints.
Yes. Better get ready, Myra. Certainly looks bad for her.
Afraid it does. Looks like an open and shut case. Oh, will you come along too, Professor?
Certainly.
And so it all worked out beautifully. Not quite as the professor had planned. But then he changed his plan from the moment when Gladys Tanner showed him the snapshot taken in Atlantic City. And he realized that the girl's fiancé was Hellman, and the blonde was Myra, his wife. He had no intention of allowing Gladys Tanner to kill Hellman until he saw that snapshot. And when he recognized Myra's purse in Hellman's home, he decided to let Gladys kill him and the blame be placed on Myra. The perfect crime. But several hours later, after fingerprints and many questions, the professor is just about to be dismissed when Sergeant Rankin steps into the room and speaks quietly to Lieutenant Davis.
What is it, Rankin?
I stayed at Basile's place, as you said.
Well?
A few minutes ago, a special delivery letter came for the professor. This'll knock your eye out. Read it.
Well, this fits perfectly with the writing we were trying to make out on Helm's desk blotter. Professor, here's a letter sent special delivery to you a few minutes ago, postmarked last night. Read it.
Dear Professor Basile, your theory worked a certain degree. You convinced me I should kill him. But when that gun you gave me misfired twice, I almost quit.
Go ahead, Professor. Read on.
Then as I looked at him on the floor, the feeling of self-destruction came back. I'm going ahead with my plan. Here's your check. I won't need it. Besides, I lied to you. I lost my mother long ago. Better luck next time. Gladys Tanner.
And a half hour ago, they found her body beneath Suicide Bridge.
Well, Professor, your perfect crime has failed.
Failed. Yes, failed.
Wonderful setup on paper, but your theory backfired, and you're up for murder.
But I didn't kill him.
But you planned it, and you're as guilty as Gladys. She's paid her penalty. Now it's your turn.
No. I won't be hanged. Never!
Rankin, grab him!
And now the doctor lies on the sidewalk 17 stories below. His entire theory worked in reverse. And so closes the doctor-prescribed death, starring Bela Lugosi. Tonight's story of suspense. It came to you from Columbia Square in Hollywood. This is the man in black who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next Tuesday when we present the noted actor, Mr. Sidney Greenstreet, in The Hangman Won't Wait. William Spear, the producer, Ted Bliss, the director, Lud Gluskin, the musical director, Lucian Mahuik, the composer, and J. Donald Wilson, the author, collaborated on tonight's Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape! Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight, we escape to a lonely lighthouse off the steaming jungle coast of French Guiana. and a nightmare world of terror and violence, as we bring you again, in response to hundreds of requests, Three Skeleton Key, starring Vincent Price.
Picture this place. A gray tapering cylinder welded by iron rods and concrete to the key itself. A bare black rock, 150 feet long, maybe 40 wide. That's at low tide. At high tide, just the lighthouse, rising 110 feet straight up out of the ocean. And all about it, the churning water, gray-green, scum-dappled, warm as soup, and swarming with gigantic bat-like devilfish, great violet schools of Portuguese man-o'-war, and yes, sharks, the big ones, the 15-footers. And as if this weren't enough, there was a hot, dank, rotten-smelling wind that came at us day and night off the jungle swamps of the mainland. A wind that smelled like death. A wind that had smelled the slow and frightful death that came one night to this bare black rock. Set in the base of the light was a watertight bronze door, and in you went, and up. Yes, up and round, past the tanks of oil and the coils of rope, casks of wicks, racks of lanterns, sacks of spuds and cartons and cans, and up, round and round. Over the light storeroom was the food storeroom, and over the food storeroom was the bunk room where the three of us slept. And over the bunk room was the living and cooking room, and over the living and cooking room was the light. She was a beauty, big steel and bronze baby with the sun gleaming through the glass walls all about, bouncing blinding little beams off the big shining reflectors, glittering and refracting through her lenses, the whole gigantic bulk of her balanced like a ballerina on the glistening steel axle of her rotary mechanism. She was a sweetheart of a light. And at night, she'd lie there on the stone deck of the gallery with her revolving smoothly and quietly over your head, easing her bright white eye 360 degrees around the horizon. You'd lie there watching to see that the feeders kept working, that everything ran right. And it wouldn't be bad, the other two fellows snoring in their sacks 2 levels down. You'd smoke your pipe to kill the stink of the wind, and it wouldn't be bad. About those other two, Louis and Auguste. What a pair. Louis, he was head man, was a big fellow from the Basque country, black beard, little hard black eyes, and a pair of arms that I tell you, those arms were as big around as my legs. Yes, head man he was, and what word he let go was law. A silent fellow, and although I spent my first 2 weeks trying to strike up a real conversation, the most I could ever get out of him was...
John, I took up this profession because I don't like people. They want to talk too much. It's quiet work, light tending. Let's keep it that way. You're getting to be as bad as Auguste. I thought maybe for once they'd send me somebody who
That
could keep
was
his
Louis.
mouth shut.
When he accused me of becoming like Auguste, I quieted down, because Auguste was the talkingest man I'd ever met. The talkingest and the ugliest. He was hunchbacked, stood 4 feet high, had red hair and big blue eyes. It seems he'd been an actor in Paris.
Yes, indeed. Played in over 200 different productions, dear boy, at the Grand Guignol. Oh, but it was monstrous horrible, the way we used to scare the audiences. I was hated. Yes, they used to throw things and hiss and bare their teeth at me. Finally, it got too bad. I couldn't stand it any longer. I gave up the theater. My nerves, you understand. Yes, gave it up completely. I really did. Couldn't stand it any longer.
It all started one morning at 2:30. I was on watch, lying on the cool stone deck, pulling on my pipe, staring out at the blackness, the phosphorescent combers, and the big yellow stars, when out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something show up for a second. something the light had touched, far off. I waited for her to come around again, and when she did, there it was. A three-master, a big one, about a half-mile off, and coming down out of the north-northwest, coming straight for us. You must understand, our light was where it was for a very good reason. Dangerous submerged reefs surrounded us, and ships kept clear. But this one, this sailing vessel, was coming straight on. I went over to the gallery door and yelled, "Louis! Louis!" Couldn't understand it. I waited for the light to come around again.
What is it? Ship headed for the reef. Hurry right up.
I had the glasses out now. I couldn't read her name, but I could see her quite plainly. All sails set, the foam creaming away under her bow, her beautiful lines. A Dutch ship, I guessed her. But why didn't she turn? Every time it passed, our light hit her with the glare of day.
Ship? Where?
Northwest. The light will touch her in a moment.
Can't they see?
Look at her. She just keeps coming on.
Yeah, the squareheads.
What is it? What is it?
Watch northwest.
I know what it is.
Huh? What?
The Dutchman, the Flying Dutchman. We did a play about her once. Oh, what a performance. You ghastly galleon, hag-ridden, curse-driven, must on.
Shut up, will you? She's luffing.
Yes.
Sloppy way to come about. She's derelict, that's it.
Derelict?
Abandoned. The crew left her for some reason or other. But instead of sinking, she's gone on, running before every wind.
She'll not run long. Not with these reefs to break her up.
A beautiful ship. Now, why would men leave a beautiful ship like that?
She didn't ram us, although we all expected it. But as we waited for the crash, she luffed again, caught some odd gust, and went about. We watched her the rest of those black hours, heeling and rocking, pushed and pulled by every stray wind, every freak current. Watched her until the dawn came, till the sea turned from black to a pearly gray. And on she came again, heading for us. We all had our glasses trained on her now.
August, you can kill the light.
Right, Chief?
She doesn't look so good by daylight. Think she'll ground this time?
What?
I say, do you think she'll ground this time?
Huh? This is impossible. Absolutely impossible.
What?
Here, take my glasses. They're better than yours.
All right. And what is it you're... I had to focus, and then my breath froze in my throat. The decks were swarming with a dark brown carpet that looked like a gigantic fungus, but undulating. And on the masts and yards, the guys and all were hundreds, no thousands, I don't know, an endless number of enormous rats.
See them?
Yes, I see them.
Now we know why she's derelict.
Yes, now we know.
What are you two doing? Here, give me a look.
Yes, give him the glasses. Take a good look, chatterbox. Give you something to talk about.
She's still heading for us.
Yes.
She's going to turn. She better turn soon.
Suppose she doesn't.
You mean suppose she piles up on the quay?
It's low tide.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Where's all the conversation, August, huh? Here, want the glasses again? Want another look?
No.
She's still coming on.
Go away! Go away!
Turn! Will you turn, I say? I pray you, turn!
She's cracking up. The rats. Look, on the water. Like a carpet.
They're swimming.
Sure, they're swimming. Those are ship's rats.
But they're swimming for the rocks.
The door below. It's open.
Come on. Down we went, racing down the stone stairs, taking them 3 and 4 at a time. Scared? You bet we were scared.
August, you get the windows. Maybe they can climb. We don't know.
Right, Chief. But hurry!
Look. See them?
No. Oh, yes, I do. Up at the other end of the rock.
Look at them.
Millions.
They smell us. Here they come. Close the door.
Can't.
Here. Let me.
Oh, move. You move.
Heave.
Made it.
Holy. That was close.
One got in. Look, there. Get him! Watch it. He's kicking. He was as big as a tomcat, bigger. And his eyes were wild and red, his teeth long and sharp and yellow. He went for us, starving, ravenous, and we fought him, fought that one rat all over the room. It was, oh, believe me, I do not exaggerate, it was like fighting a panther.
Got him.
We better get aloft. As we ran up the winding staircase, we passed the tiny windows of the various levels, and at every one was a thick, wriggling, screaming curtain of brown fur. I was ahead of Louis, and I dreaded each successive level. Suppose they had found a way in.
Look at them. Will you look at them?
It's a nightmare.
Will you look at them?
The air of the gallery was thick and fetid with the stink of them. The light was dim, brown, filtered through the crawling mass that swarmed over the glass all about us. I could not see the sky. Nothing but them. Their red eyes, their claws, their wriggling, hairy snouts, and their teeth. The rats. They screamed and howled and threw themselves against the glass. They were starving. And we three, we stood very quietly. Oh, very quietly in the center of the classroom under our beautiful light. And we waited.
What can we do? What can we do?
Take it easy, old man. Take it easy.
I just can't.
It won't do any good to stand here and shake.
That's right. Anybody want a cigarette?
Yes, I'll have one, thank you.
Good boy. We've got to keep calm about this thing. Here's a light.
They don't light the fire, do they?
Guess not.
Give me another match. You don't like that much, do you?
Don't rile them, August.
Give me some more matches. I'll strike them and strike them and strike them until they get scared and go away.
They won't go away. Not until...
Let me see, Chief. Not until what?
Not until they've been fed.
You can take just so much horror, and then you get used to it. And they were interesting to watch, you know. They couldn't understand the glass. They could see us, and they could rush at us, but that thin, invisible barrier held them off, stopped them. From time to time, we caught a glimpse of the rocks below. More rats down there, swarming brown velvet in the bright tropical sunlight. And then the tide began to rise. If only it had drowned some of them.
Ship's rats don't drown. No, sir, you cannot drown one of them. They're all climbing up the tower.
This bunch around us is getting thicker.
Say, what's the time?
6:15.
You've got first watch, John.
Right.
Wake me at 10.
I will.
Come along, August.
It was getting dark. One side of the room was lit a soft, filtered red. Sunset through the racks. Oh, very pretty. I set the wicks, checked my fuel, and then lit the lamp. It caught them. Lit them in their gigantic wriggling web of pale, hairless bellies, twitching red tails, bright eyes. Then I started the rotary motor. The light drove them mad as she swung slowly and smoothly about. She blinded them in the fierce stabbing bar of light, moving continually about of a turning, of a touching, of a moving around and around, and they twitching and shuddering, eyes flaming when they were struck by the light. Bright light moving, and behind on the dark side of the room, so close, I dared not turn my back, but you cannot help turning your back when you're in a room made of glass. On the dark side of the room, you could not see them, but only their eyes. Thousands of points of blank red light, blinking and twinkling like the stars of hell. Louis relieved me at 10, but I didn't get much sleep that night, and when I came up into the gallery early next morning, There stood August, his back to me. He was bowing to the rats, waving his arms and making a speech.
I am going to play once again that magnificent role which made me the toast of the Paris theater. Prelate, the evil genius of the medieval underworld. I am he who did guide the dark soul of the Marechal into the nether paths. Do not be frightened, little children. I will not hurt
turning.
you.
I stood staring at him, horror-struck, but he didn't notice me. The man had gone mad. He kept turning, telling his stories to all the rats, leaving no one out. August! August!
Ah, another one. A latecomer. Take a seat on the aisle, dear patron.
August,
move
stop
over
it,
there.
stop it.
Let the gentleman be
But
seated.
he didn't
Come,
stop.
come.
He went on, bowing and scraping to the rats, his big blue eyes rolling and winking, his wild red hair waving about him. I grabbed him by the arms and slapped his face. He looked at me like a child. And then his face screwed up. He looked as though he were about to cry. Go below, go on.
Oh, very well, then. Later, my dear audience, later. Matinee today.
Sure, he was crazy. But I guess we all were. A few hours later, he came back up and caught Louis and me teasing the rats. Yes, sounds horrible. It was fun. We could get right up against the glass and make faces at them. It drove them crazy. They would scratch away trying to get at our eyes. Louis was even cuter about it. He'd pull a piece of bread out of his pocket and press it against the glass. The rats would scramble into a solid ball, biting each other, clustering like grapes. From time to time, a whole knot of them would slip and fall 110 feet to the surf below.
Look at the sharks.
They're eating them.
The sharks are our friends. Here, I'll get another bunch together. Here, my beauties. That's it. Tyler, kill each other. There they go.
Auguste joined in, too. Oh, very ingenious Auguste. He learned that if he spread-eagled himself against the glass, they'd bunch and bundle against his figure. Then he'd leap back.
Look! My portrait in rats.
It went on all day. And then I was lying in bed. It was about midnight. I was very tired, and I was just beginning to fall off to sleep when I became conscious of a new sound. Couldn't figure it at first. I got up, lit the lamp, and went to the window. Even as I looked at it, I saw one of the panes begin to sag in. They had eaten the wood away. Louis, come quick!
What? What is it?
They found a way in. I held the glass with my hand. Now they were all going crazy, and assured of the success of this maneuver, were all nibbling away at the wood. Louis ran below and then returned with a large sheet of tin. We spread it against the window and hammered it into place. Even as we did so, we felt the heavy bodies thudding against the other side as the window gave way.
That ought to hold. If it doesn't, we're done for.
Rats can't eat tin.
No, they can't. What was that?
I don't know.
It came from below.
The storeroom window.
They're in. They're swarming up the stairs.
Drop the trap.
Right.
Two of them got in.
Let's go after them.
We didn't have to go after them. They came at us. I leaped to one side and grabbed a marlin spike, swung, and smashed one in midair.
No!
I whirled to see Louis with the other. It had ripped his hand open, and the blood was pouring all over the place. He held his hand aloft and kicked at the snarling rat. I stepped and swung and got him.
My hand! He got my hand!
That's both of them, Louis. I'll get you something to tie that up.
Blood! Look at it! My blood! I'm bleeding!
Now, don't worry about it, Louis. Here, look. I'll wind this kerchief around it. It'll be okay.
Blood!
There, now. It's not bad, just the flesh. Then I became conscious of another new sound. They were gnawing their way through the wooden trap door. I watched the wood fascinated. Even as I did, it began to give way, and a bristling, whiskery nose showed through. Louis, we've got to go up. Next next level was the living quarters and the kitchen. I slammed the trap door there, too. But it, too, was wood.
My blood. What are we going to do?
I don't know. We'll be through this one in a moment.
The gallery. The trap door in the gallery is metal.
Good. Come on. We made it. We lay across the trap door exhausted. While below us, the rats took over the entire tower. I could hear them howling and fighting over our food supply, our water, our leather. And all about us, the others screamed and glared in at us, swayed in a tangled mass, hypnotized by the ever-turning light. By morning, the air in the little room was horrible. Until now, we'd been getting air from the tower below. Now that was sealed off. And so was all our food and water. We lay exhausted, panting, waiting. The hours crawled on. I was almost dozing from fatigue when I saw a sight that brought me too fast.
Would you like to come in, my beauties? Would you? I hold the powers of life and death, and I can let you in, you know.
August was standing by the glass, and in one hand he held a wrench. He was tapping the glass gently, not quite hard enough to break it. I eased myself to my feet and slowly, very slowly, tiptoed toward him.
All I have to do is tap just a little harder.
I found a coil of wire in the toolkit, and I trussed him up, fastened him to a stanchion in the center of the room. Louis was of no help. He lay on his side, looking at his bloody hand, weak and sick as a baby. So there I was, a lunatic and a coward for company, and all about watching our little drama, the rats. The day dragged by. The supply boat wasn't due for another 12 days. I don't know what they could have done if they had come. We had only one way of summoning them, and that was to shoot off distress rockets, but the rockets were 4 floors below. And even if they'd been right there in the gallery, I couldn't have opened a window to fire them. That night, I tended the light, but its flame was devouring our oxygen. The following day, we lay, thirst-tormented, starving, waiting, and the following night, I again tended the light, but the small supply of spare wicking we kept in the gallery had become exhausted, and quite suddenly, about midnight, the light went out. There's nothing I could do. Wicks were stored 3 levels below. Nothing I could do. Nothing. From time to time, I'd strike a match to see the clock. When I did, it lit up the million red eyes about us. All about us. Watching. Waiting. Below, it had grown quiet. They'd cleaned us out, and now they, too, were waiting. All waiting. And then, the rats, quite suddenly, were silent. And then I heard it. And then I saw the sky and the stars. The rats were gone. I went to the glass. Out there on the water, a small freighter, a banana boat, showing a few lights, came softly and innocently at us. The light was out. They didn't know. I wanted to open the windows, to call out to them, to warn them somehow, but I was afraid. What if the rats were hiding from me, tricking me? So I waited. She grounded very softly on a reef not 200 yards from the quay. Grounded so gently that the man playing the cornet, was he a passenger or crewman off watch, didn't even stop playing. They tried washing her back off, I could have told them to save their fuel. The tide was rising, would have floated her free. And I waited. That's all. That's the story. The sun came up and there wasn't a rat on the whole key. Every last one of that terrible army had left us, gone back to sea on their new ship. Auguste, insane asylum, he never recovered. And Louis, they took him into Cayenne where he died of blood poisoning from his bite. Oh, yes. Well, that's the whole of it. And if you'll excuse me now, I must go set my traps. No mouse traps. No rats in this lighthouse, I should say not. Life in the lights isn't bad, but sometimes when I see a strange vessel approaching, I get a little nervous, sure. Somewhere on the seas, there's a little banana boat without a crew. That is, without a human crew.
Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson. Tonight we have presented Three Skeleton Key by George Tadouse, adapted for radio by James Poe and starring Vincent Price as Jean. Supporting Mr. Price were Harry Bartell as August and Jeff Corey as Louis. Sound effects on Three Skeleton Key, created by Cliff Thorsness and executed today by Mr. Thorsness, Gus Bays, and Jack Sixsmith, have been awarded the Best of the Year by Radio and Television Life magazine. Harry Essman was at the control panel, and special music was arranged and conducted by Del Castillo. Next week...
You are swimming for your life in the dangerous waters off the Florida Gulf Coast, about to be smashed by a launch carrying a vicious criminal who must kill you or die himself. And on shore, 500 yards away, the police are waiting to arrest you for murder. And there can be no escape.
Next week, we escape with an exciting tale of temptation and death on the Gulf Coast of Florida, as John and Gwen Bagney tell it in Danger at Matagumba. Goodbye, then, until this same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. A patch of weeds, a boxer's biography, and a mild, lukewarm bath. They're all clues that lead the police of Jackson, Michigan, to a killer in the gangbuster story on CBS this Saturday night. It's the case of the double push, to be heard on most of these same CBS stations this Saturday night. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.